think the one important thing that we went back and forth and talked about a lot was to show a lot of respect and consideration for the original version. We like that's why we started the intro with this kind of a cappella version because it was kind of a way to pay homage to that Disney magic. And that's not it's not something that we've done a lot in our previous song, like, but it felt like we had to tip our hat and really pay homage to, yeah, like that really that there's something special about Disney music. It takes you somewhere else. It really like there's just something. I mean, I know it's a bit of a cliche word when you come to Disney, but it's really magical.
Hey, Chuck, how are you?
Amazing. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
Oh, of
Oh,
course. Like we
thank
are
you.
we are so grateful. Like listen, like we Civil Plan is one of our all-time favorite bands. So having this, marriaged with like having Disney music, I think was just something we had to jump at. So we're just so grateful for you taking the time to talk with us.
My pleasure.
We were lucky to be at D23 to see you guys just kill it on stage there. So we just love to know, like, just to open to open up the conversation. What was it like preparing for that show and to perform with Mickey? It was our first time there too. So it just felt perfect. Like, oh, like Canadians there taking over D23. It was an amazing experience. So what was it like for you guys on your end?
Yeah, we didn't know what to expect. Honestly, we heard so much about the D23 and the craziness and just how big that thing was and how massive of an event it is for Disney. So it was kind of exciting. We didn't really know what to expect, and we was a bit nervous because we had never played the song live before. So we cheated a little bit, like a few days before we played live once or twice, just to break it in and make sure that we were confident and feeling like we had rehearsed it and we were ready. And we were very intrigued to see how the whole playing with Mickey would go, and when we saw it on the screen, like you could really tell that the person who did all the animation or the team that did it really were musicians because it was so crazy. They were like doing the chords and they were like jumping like pop punk style. So there was a lot of thought and effort and like consideration that was put into that. You could tell it was like a really high level and well executed. So it was really fun for us. It was kind of like a bit surreal to turn back and playing drums, and you can see like Mickey kind of jamming out with us. So it was super cool. I think we played pretty well. The fans seemed to really like they all knew the song. Like everybody who was there were aware of the soundtrack and the album, the compilation, and everybody knew the single already. So it was great. It was really fun. We loved playing it, and yeah, we hope that we can keep playing it live, and for like many years because it's a song that instantly, the moment you start playing it, the first note, everybody recognizes that iconic song. It's just that big.
It really is, and you guys killed it. It was a great show. It was so fun, and just have like that little mini condensed concert in the middle of D23. I think that's like just a core memory for us for like the rest of time. So thank you for that.
Yeah, the people, there was I mean, we didn't know because at first when we were just waiting, like you have no idea who's going to come and how many people are going to be there, and it looked like a pretty big hall, and we were like, oh boy, I hope people show up. And then sure enough, like a few minutes before, it was like packed and there was tons of people and it was really fun. So yeah, we had a blast, and it's just cool to finally know what this whole D23 is. And I wish we could have stayed for longer. We had to fly back and play more shows and be back on tour, but it looked like it was a really successful and awesome event.
Yeah, when we were leaving, I think you had a show with like Avril in Toronto after, which was where we're from. So it was just
Oh,
really
nice.
funny to be like, oh, they're already where we're heading. So
Yeah, it was funny. Like when we flew on the plane from Montreal, on our flight, there was tons of people with Disney gear. So you can tell, like anywhere, people are all kind of making their way there. It was pretty impressive to see.
How did you guys land on Can You Feel the Love Tonight?
We went through a lot of like potential ideas and song choices, and we're a band that tends to like overthink a lot of things and talk and have many like over many days. And we went back and forth. We had made a whole list, and I think the criteria for us was to try to find a song that every generation would know. This crossover appeal to like parents, to young kids now, and something that felt really iconic and that had a timeless quality to it. Something that would stand the test of time, and something that we could also really put our spin on it. I think it was important for us to do a song where it would feel and sound really different than the original version. Um, And so we went back and forth, and that song and Lion King in general, because we knew it was also like they had a big anniversary as well. I think it's like 30 years. So we started to think like, yeah, that's just kind of movie that a lot of people that were fans of our band when they were young, it was a big part of their childhood. It was an important movie. It was, part of their lives. And now it's a movie that was big enough and that was good enough, a really high quality movie that you want to play for your own kids as you become a parent, you know? So it started to feel like, yeah, man, like this is kind of like, that's a really good one. That's the one movie we want to kind of zero in on. And then it was a matter of choosing what song from that movie soundtrack was the best one. And we felt like that was probably the one that resonated the most with the most people. It was the most timeless melody. And it was the one that was very different. It's a very kind of like a ballad, very piano and vocal base. We felt like it would be perfect if we just put like our whole kind of style on it, our Simple Plan style on it, and it would stand out and it would sound different from the original, the Elton John original. So I don't know, all these kind of conditions together, the anniversary, all that, the music, like the song itself, just felt, and the cultural impact of the movie and the soundtrack, it felt like when you put those three together, it was a really cool choice. And I would say that it was an ambitious choice too, because it's a kind of a big song to tackle.
Yeah.
Like it's not like, like it's not like a safe choice, but we're that kind of band. Like we like to take a challenge on, and to try to kind of go for it, and go big or go home. So,
Right.
Then we agreed to it. And I think so far the reaction's been amazing. So I guess knock on wood, we made a good, there's so many options, right? It was tough, but, I think we feel pretty good about our choices.
Yeah, you definitely did. And I mean, I love that you touched upon that. You had your simple plan methods of coming to a song like this. When you look back to what Elton John did with that version, like how does Simple Plan start to approach it? Like what is it that you break down and how do you make it your own?
I think the one important thing that we went back and forth and talked about a lot was to show a lot of respect and consideration for the original version. That's why we started the intro with this kind of a cappella version, because it was kind of a way to pay homage to that Disney magic. And that's not it's not something that we've done a lot in our previous song, but it felt like we had to tip our hat and really pay homage to, like that, really, that there's something special about Disney music. It takes you somewhere else. It really, like there's just something. I mean, I know it's a bit of a cliche word when you come to Disney, but it's really magical. It really feels like it's taking you somewhere else in a different world. So we didn't want to just go into like a straight pop punk intro and just we wanted the intro and the outro to sort of really pay homage to how the original version was. That's why at the end we come back to just the piano and the vocal, because that's really what the song, that's the essence of the song. That's how Elton John performed it. So it was important for us to acknowledge that and not just put the distortion guitar everywhere and that's that. But at the same time, we wanted our sound and our signature style to come out. So it was kind of like, how do we marry these two things? How do we do it in a respectful way that shows like, hey, we really love the original, and we want to pay homage to that, and then how do we transition into our sound and making sure that our fans hear it and they recognize it. And I think the goal was to try to turn it into like a Simple Plan song. Like we could have, when we play it and when we perform it, obviously we know it's Elton John who wrote it, but it almost sounds like it could be a Simple Plan song. And that was the goal, to try to really find a way to make it our own as a version. So I think, it was all these considerations going back and forth and trying to do something that was not just like straight pop punk, which tried to elevate it a little bit, and be a bit more ambitious, a bit more grand with it, but still have the energy and the fun of pop punk and Simple Plan.
Yeah, it never sounds like it's just like a straight up cover, right? Like, like, oh, that sounds like Jeff's guitar, that sounds like Chuck on the drums, and obviously like Pierre's voice and Sebastian. Like, you guys all sounds like this is something that, like you said, it could have been one of your songs, right? And I'm just curious for yourself, like, what were those other songs, if you can share? It's cool if you can't, but like, what were those other songs, maybe either from like from like Lion King or from any other film that maybe came close that you guys were like, oh, maybe we'll do this one, but then before you landed on Can You Feel the Love Tonight?
We went back and forth, and there was a thought like it could be cool to do something that's more modern, that's more like right now. So I think we were looking at Moana as well, like as a possibility, like The Rock, like the song that I'm blanking on the title right now. But yeah, so that was one thing because we felt like, oh, that could be really cool to do something that's more like of now, you know, a bit less like less older, like a bit more current. So that was one thing. From the other film, I like from The Lion King, I thought that I Can't Wait to Be King was a really cool one. I was pushing for that one. I really like that one. I thought it was really cool. Yeah, but it just felt like the other one might have had a bit more of a timeless feel. And I don't know. I mean, I think they could have all been great.
Yeah.
There was there was so many options. One thing that I was looking at was even like The Greatest Showman. I thought it's been, I think, acquired by Disney now or whatever. So I was like, hey, can we do that? And we were told no, we can't. So all right. But I thought that, I mean, there's incredible melodies in there.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, the core thing is the melody. It's and the lyric and what it makes you feel. And then you can turn anything into like you can take a Simple Plan song and make it an amazing country song, or you can take, you know, like a Disney song and make it an awesome like heavy rock song if you have the melody. Then when you have that, you have a great lyric, you have something like that grabs you emotionally with that combination of lyric and melody, then you can turn it to any stuff. So like everything was on the table, and we were looking at a few other things, like, you know, like those 2 or 3 that I told you, and yeah, they all came close, but in the end we just felt like that's the one. Can You Feel Love Tonight was like, we love that one.
Yeah, maybe volume 2. Maybe we'll get a whole new sound.
There you go. That would be great. Yeah. And I also like the Frozen one, the Snowman.
Oh yeah, that'd be a fun one.
It was very short though, so we were like, it's so short. And there's not really a chorus.
Yeah,
but it's really poignant, and and obviously the movie was huge. So we thought it could have been really cool.
Still Not Getting Any is turning 20 years old, and that's an album that I remember buying at Music Worlds. Like for me, my sister like introduced me to you guys, and like for Shay too. Like this was like a huge album for us, and obviously your first album too. One of the things I just loved when I like on the CD, like it was like a CD, but the other side was a DVD, and like you guys had like the making of. You'd always carry around like a notebook. And like, and you were saying earlier in an interview too of how much discussion you guys have. So I'm just curious, do you still carry around like a notebook to do notes for everything, or are you more digital now when you're doing your notes? Like, how has your process evolved over the years with the band?
I still try to have a pen and a notebook everywhere I go. Sometimes it shifts to the notes on the iPhone.
Yeah,
you know, it's a bit more digital than you know, trying to keep it like all like by hand, but just as long as you have a way to like, you come up with an idea and you just have a place to put it down.
Yeah.
You know, like there's like, you wake up in the middle of the night and it's like, oh, that's a cool idea. Let's make, like, you know, I'm just gonna write that down. Or sometimes you even just literally like talking to people, or even like you're at a restaurant and you overhear somebody say a word and you're like, oh man, that's a cool song title. That could be a really cool song. So that's really how it happens for me. I'll read the newspaper, or making me sound old, but yes, I do.
No, not at all.
Or I'll watch a movie or like a TV show and you hear like a piece of dialogue, or you hear somebody say like an expression, you know, and it's like, oh man, that sounds like it could be something super interesting. And, you know, and I always try to come up with ideas that are not what you normally hear in songs, like, you know, like I Miss You or whatever, like these kind of obvious songs. It's cool to write a song like Jet Lag. Like you don't really, it's not like an obvious title for a song like Jet Lag. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, that sounds a bit out there, but if you're able to use a word like that, that's interesting, that's different, and turn it into like a great melody and a great story, I think it makes for like a really memorable hook. So that's kind of what I'm always after, is to try to find something that stands out a little bit and that you'll remember when you hear it, you know?
Yeah, fine.
So the process has not changed, to answer your question. It's still the same thing.
That's good.
That's great.
It's still chasing ideas, and you write something down and you don't even think about it. You have it, and then you look back 2 months later and you throw it I'll throw it to Pierre, like, hey, what do you think? Like a song called Iconic. And then he sits down and grabs a guitar or gets on the piano and starts to try to imagine, like, how could I sing that? And then he lands on a melody, and it's for me, I'll never get tired of the magic of writing down one word one day and then hearing it months later turn into a melody, and then it's like, then it feels magical. You hear it and you're like, oh my God, it was worth it to write that down, you know, like, and it's a very different, I don't think a lot of bands write like that, but for us, it usually starts with the title.
Yeah, it's worked though.
We're so grateful for your time. We obviously don't want to take up too much of it, but last thing we wanted to kind of ask here is, what do you think has kept Simple Plan working together all these years?
I think first of all, it's our friendship as a band. I think that's been really important, because that's what you have to protect at first. It's keeping the band together and being able to get along, you know, throughout the different, you know, highs and lows of a career, and throughout, you know, up all the personal stuff that happens, right, in all of our lives. So it's staying close, not the importance of that we're, you know, four guys playing together, and that we have to have that chemistry, we have to have that connection when we walk on stage. You have to get along to get a good show. At least I think so. I know some bands are able to pull it off, but for us, it feels a lot easier to be months on the road together when you actually like enjoy each other's company, or at least respect each other. You know, that's very important. And I would say that there's a lot of hard work. I think for us, like, it's always touring, playing shows, and when we put out records, when we write music, not necessarily thinking that your first idea is genius, and kind of digging and, you know, not putting out something until it's at the right level, you know. And I think sometimes it's tough for us because we don't put out a lot of records because we're sometimes a bit paralyzed, but we want it to be as good as what we've done in the past and all that. But I think overall it's been a good thing for us, because we have maintained like a quality level of our albums and our shows, because we always have that bar that we're aware of that we need to hit, you know. And I would say, aside from that, the respect for the fans, I think never losing sight of that, never losing sight of the fact that they're the reason why we get to do what we love the most in the world, and that we're so lucky, we're so privileged to have that, to be able to do it like 25 years later, and to play bigger and bigger shows almost. And it feels like the last 4 or 5 years, it feels like the band is on this ascending moment. And, you know, it's all because of people listening to the music and, you know, like being a part of their lives and being able to connect with them. So I think that's really important to never lose sight of that. And then I would say there's a little bit of luck, because there's some amazing bands that wrote amazing songs, and somehow it didn't connect for them. It didn't work out. So being at the right place, the right moment, being at the right, like being able to capture lightning in a bottle, it's, you know, sometimes a little bit of luck, timing and all that stuff. So you have to acknowledge that, I think. So yeah, I think it's all those things.
That means there's still hope for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, hard work and getting along, and just, you know, hey, and I'll tell you what, just showing up.
Yeah. That's so
At
true.
the end of the day, like it's like, just, you know, just keep going every single day. Like, you know, just showing up, and that's a big thing. People don't realize, like, that being persistent. That's what my dad always taught me. Like, you got to be ferocious. You're gonna be happy. I quote him: ferociously persistent.
Love that.
Don't take no for an answer. Or if people tell you no, okay, it's fine. Bounce back from that.
Definitely.
Very true.
Chuck, we're so grateful for your time today. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the years of just amazing music that really has, you know, identified who we are for so long. And I really hope we get to talk to you and the guys again one day. So thank you.
I'd love that. Thank you so much for the time, and thanks for the kind word. Really appreciate it.